Okay, so once again, this is the third session in the Workbench series that we do have for webinars. Today we're covering report builders, and we are recording today's session for your convenience. Later today I'll be sending out a link to the PowerPoint as well as the video. So if you'd like to come back and review this webinar at a later time, then you'll be able to do that easily with the link. So do me a favor and go ahead and test out the chat feature. If you can hear me and you can see the presentation, type the following information: your location and the businesses that you support. So for example, Antioch, Illinois, and Kmart Toys Action Figures. So go ahead and take some time to do that. Make sure when you do send a chat note that you're sending it to everyone. We have two computers set it up, and if you just send to the host, I actually won't be able to see that since I'm presenting. And we're going to come back to those responses in just a few minutes. So again, your location and the businesses that you support. So some quick webinar etiquette reminders. If you can please put your phone on mute when you're not speaking, that would be great. It does create a lot of background noise sometimes, either through static or Midwest as well. So we have a good range of people here today. Okay, thanks. And again, if you have any questions to the webinar, please use the chat feature. That's the best way where you can ask a question at any time, and we'll be sure to answer that for you. So I'm going to pass it on to Stephanie. She's our Workbench expert on our team.
Thanks, Mona. So I'm Stephanie Noswick. I'm a BU trainer. Formerly, I was an inventory and then a senior inventory analyst for 3 years supporting Kmart businesses. So I supported Kmart Kids World Seasonal Basics, which was underwear, fleece, dance, socks, all of that good stuff. And I also supported Kmart Infant Hardlines, so carriers, cribs, all those happy purchases for baby. In that time, I used SHC Merchant Workbench reporting to illustrate sales performance, manage inventory levels, track orders, and assist with special store projects. Today, our objectives, we're going to learn navigation in Report Builder, and then we're going to run a sales report and then an inventory report. We'll also take a look at how to export those reports into Excel. So here's a note on data availability before we jump into Report Builder. If you are pulling receipt information, data goes back 2 years by KSN, 18 months by purchase order. If you're pulling sales, you've got data that goes back 2 years. Inventory goes back 2 years for fiscal week. If you're pulling daily, it goes back 35 days. Order tracking goes back 15 months, and accounts payable is a rolling 12 months. Please do note that it can take up to 2 days for data changes to reflect in Workbench. So what that means is if you're working in a store, you notice that something that is supposed to be on hand is nowhere to be found in the store, and you get the manager to update the inventory, it could take up to 2 days for those changes to reflect in reporting. And a special note for Sears JIT vendors, sales and inventory are not available on Workbench, so you would want to request SVP access for Workbench, not full access. Sales and inventory is available via the Sears Sales Alex reports, and go ahead and send an email to vendors at searshc.com for access. So here's a little bit more information on that full access, which is also known as a power user. It does require a software license, and the fee per person is $550 for the license, and then there's an annual maintenance fee of $100. Licenses are transferable, so if you move around in your organization and someone is in your seat, that person could obtain your license. All the reports that are included are the standard business process reports, which is the inventory, both DC and store, sales, order tracking, price visibility, all the decision support reports, including sales, inventory, both DC and store, performance information, and order tracking, and access to the vendor corporate saved reports, so your top 20 items, past due purchase orders, inventory on hand with no sales, and open purchase orders for ad or non-ads. So what is Report Builder? It's a powerful interactive reporting tool that lets you select custom time ranges. You can make merchandise and geography selections, and you can really customize the metrics that you're looking at. It includes 30 reports in 4 different categories. There are 11 sales reports, 7 inventory reports, 2 performance reports, and 10 order tracking reports. Plus, the vendor corporate saved reports, again, are those top 20 items, past due purchase orders, inventory and no sales, and open POs for ads and non-ads. So here's the screenshot, and then we're going to go ahead and access Report Builder from the vendor portal. If you already have it open, you're going to scroll all the way down on the left-hand side under Decision Support and click Report Builder. Then when that window opens, you'll be able to see that Vendor Visibility Report Builder, and go ahead and click on that. And now I'm going to navigate from the vendor portal. So now that I'm logged in, you can see I'm scrolling down, and on the left-hand side, under Kmart and Sears Applications, Workbench is the first one. So go ahead and click on SHC Merchant Workbench. And you guys will see that I've got 2 different options. You will only see that Vendor Visibility Report Builder. That's where I want you guys to go ahead and go into. So I'm going to enter Report Builder for my screen. Your screen might not look like this. It'll probably look something like this. You guys should be seeing sales, inventory, performance, order tracking, and ranking available. I'm going to head back to the PowerPoint for a moment. So the top Report Builder reports, these are the ones that you'll generally find the information that you're looking for quickly and easily. There's a sales and inventory analysis, and that can be accessed by clicking on that sales option, the sales analysis, which is also in sales. Comparison this year versus last year, dollars, units, and inventory. That's also found in the sales portion. PO exception reporting is found in that order tracking option. Store inventory, that's the inventory option. DC inventory, also found in the inventory option. Corporate PO distributions is found in order tracking. A sales time horizontal, that's one of the sales reports as well. Formetric in stock, that's in the vendor visibility report builder. It should be under the inventory. And merchandise analysis, which is in sales. So we're going to go ahead and start some of those demos in Report Builder. And first we're going to build an inventory report. So let's go into Report Builder and go ahead and click on that inventory option. So once you've clicked on that inventory option, you can see there's a couple different types of inventory reports. We're going to run a store inventory today. So locate that store inventory report and click on store inventory. So once you've made it into the report prompt section, you can see there's a couple of prompt selections that have a required after them. Those are needed before the report can be run. Everything else is optional, so you can kind of tailor your report as you need to. So first, let's take a look at prompt 1, which is the merchandise hierarchy selection. So you can see that I'll probably have a lot more selections available than you will. You should only see the areas that you are responsible for. So for this, I'm going to pull my report by division. So as you can see here, I clicked on Business Division, then I clicked on Business Division again, and I'm going to go and I will pull one for, let's see, the division I want is Division 49. So you can see that I brought that whole division over. Maybe you want to see a little bit further in. If you wanted to go deeper into the hierarchy, you could click on that plus sign. It'll expand again, and you can select department, category group, or category. If I wanted to see my old area, I would go ahead and click on business department and then bring over infant hardlines. You see here I've got both selections. I was able to bring that over using this arrow. And if let's say, okay, so I just want infant hardlines. I don't want this division. I'm going to select it, and then I'll put it back using the remove arrow. So now I'm just going to be pulling infant hardlines. Moving on to prompt number 2, this is another required prompt. You can see that selected is the corporate hierarchy option. That is the highest level of the hierarchy. For me, that never really told me very much. I really like to drill into the division, category, and subcategory level, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click this division, bring it over, then I'm going to go scroll down to find my, there's category, I got category, and then I'm going to scroll down to find my subcategory, which is all the way at the bottom, and bring it over. Let's say you messed up in your selection here. Maybe you want your category to show up in the columns below subcategory. You have the option to move it by selecting it and using the arrows to the right to move it up or down. So attribute restriction, you can further select different attributes as part of your product. I'm going to leave these alone because I do want to see everything in infant hardlines for the time being. Merchandise restrictions, this is another way to limit the data that you're seeing. So maybe you want only to see product that has a can carry model of 76,500. So you can see I opened up that can carry model, selected this little box here, and brought it over using the arrow. To get my can carry model filled out, I'm going to go ahead and click on that form. You see that there's a little drop box that pulls down and select ID. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on value, and I'm going to enter 76,500. 00, which that is all planogrammed items. Moving on to prompt 6, this is to restrict your merchandise restriction. So if I wanted to see everything by any of these options, I could select that and bring it over. I'm just going to leave that alone for now. I want to see everything at a higher level. But I encourage you guys to play around with this, bring some selections over maybe, and see what you get back. In prompt 7, 8, and 9, you do have the option to load a pre-saved, comma-delimited CSV file, or you could even type in the items, KSNs, or reporting IDs that you want to see. So if you had an item number that you knew in particular you wanted only to see on this report, you would bring over item ID and then click on that value. You could type in your item number, or if you have a comma-delimited CSV file saved, you could go ahead and click on import, and then you would be able to browse and then import your file and then click OK, and you would see all of the KSNs from that CSV file, if you've got it correctly formatted, would load here. I'm not going to limit myself on items right now. I'm going to bring that back, or KSNs or reporting IDs. Then moving on to number 10, we've got our metric selections. There are some preloaded selections here. So you can see current store sellable units, cost, and retail, on order, units, cost, and retail, and then we've got some non-sellable units, cost, and retail. If you wanted to bring across some more, maybe you want to see some other options here, current store, non-sellable cost, memo units, you could bring those across if you would like as well. I'm going to leave it with the system selected. Number 11 is your geography prompt. So if you have a certain subsection of stores that you are looking at, you could go ahead and modify the geography that comes across here. If you know your store numbers, for example, you could select this store option, bring across store, again click ID, and then in value you would put your store numbers in. So I'll just go ahead and do that, and I'll say let's look at 7840, which is our online store on the Kmart side. But that's optional. If you want to see full chain, you could just leave that alone. Then in your detail, this would be if you want to break down further that geography section. So let's say maybe I added 9348 to this. So I'm going to separate them by a semicolon, 9348, which I believe is Norridge. So now I've got two stores here. If I want to see the totals of those stores, I would leave this alone. If I want to see totals for 7840 and then 9348 separated, I'm going to bring across my store number here so that I get those two separated out. The store from file option, if you wanted to import a list of store numbers similar to how you would import your item ID, KSN ID, or reporting ID, you could go ahead and bring that option over. I'm going to leave it alone because I've already specified two stores I want to look at. And then here's your metric restriction on store inventory. So this is if you would like to limit the data that comes back a little bit more. Let's say I only want to see store inventory that has current store on order units. I'm going to go ahead and click on that in. I'm going to say greater than or equal to, I don't know, 6. So I'm going to pull back store inventory information only for items that have on order units of 6 or more. That's what I'm saying by using this prompt. And you can do that for any of these selections. I'm not going to limit that. I'd like to see everything, whether it has 6, 4, or 2 on order, 0 on order, whatever. So I'm going to bring that back. So now, once you've made the selections that you want to format your report for, you can go ahead and click on that Run Report button down at the bottom left. And you'll see that processing. I am going to close this out just so you guys don't have any information that you might not need to have. But I do have a different sales analysis that I ran in an Excel file, so you can kind of see. I'm going to scroll really quickly. I'm not showing any cost info, but this is how your report might look in Excel once you pull it out. I'll go back into our report builder screen. So this is the formatted report. I'm just going to kind of scroll really quickly like that so you guys can't really see any of that private information. You can see how our store numbers differ, 7840 versus 9348, and then you get a total. I'm going to open up the export button. So if you want, that way you guys don't see any of this privatory info. If you want to export it to Excel, you would again go ahead and click on this little button right here. Or you could go to the home, click on that little button, and there's an export option there as well. So if I want to export, I would leave it in plain text so that I can format it the way I want. Or if you like the way maybe you like the way that these headings look, you can select Excel with formatting, and it'll look similar to the way that this heading looks. And then you could just go ahead and click export, and you'll get your file out of there. So we've got another little example of what an inventory report might look like. That way I can talk about the headings a little bit. You see you've got for this one we pulled it back by item ID. You've got your sellable units, retail, and current on order, and retail. Now let's go ahead and run a sales report. So I'm going to navigate back to my home screen by clicking on the home button. And then I'm going to go ahead and get back to Report Builder. And if you guys are having any issues getting back here, please give a shout out. Otherwise, we'll keep going. I don't see anything coming across often. So now let's run the sales report. So go ahead and click on number 1, sales. You can see you've got a couple different options here. We're just going to run a regular sales analysis. So scroll on down to that option and then select sales analysis. So some of this stuff is repeated, so I'm not going to go through every single one in as much detail as I did before, but you can see here we've got a time selection. For this time selection, you can do daily, weekly, fiscal time periods. I'm going to select custom time period fiscal. Keep drilling down. If I want to see, maybe I want to see the last 13 closed fiscal weeks. I usually like to pull that because it gave me a good sense of what trend was happening. So I'm going to bring across last 13 closed fiscal weeks. Now, if I wanted to see that by week, I would select fiscal week here. So that means that I'm going to have week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on. If I want to see a total, then I'm going to leave this blank. And I think I want to see a total, so I'm going to leave it blank. Then for prompt 3, we've got the merchandise hierarchy. Very similar to before, you select your division, or you could use any of those prompts. This is just how I'm used to going into it. Select the division and scroll into whichever hierarchy you would like to see. So I'm just going to pick infant hardlines again. And then for your merchandise detail hierarchy, you can see that corporate one is selected. I'm going to bring that back, and this time maybe I'll pull it back by item ID. Now you've got your sales metric selection in prompt number 5. You can see here this is everything that's going to come across in your report. So you've got your cost, price, sales dollar information, sales unit information for both total, regular, and event, as well as clearance. And I think I'll just leave this alone. I don't need to bring any of this over. So very similar to before, we've got all of these selection prompts that will let you further tailor the merchandise that you're looking at, as well as the restrictions and the restriction details. I'm just going to leave these blank. You don't have to fill them out. For number 10, 11, and 12, if you need to load items, KSNs, or reporting IDs, same type of prompts from earlier, you can do that here. Geography prompt, again, if I just leave this blank, it's going to give me the total chain for that infant hardlines group. So I think this time I might just leave it blank. And again, same thing here. If you want to tailor how the geography selection that you made looks, break it down by store, you would do that in the detail in number 14. I'm not loading a store from file, but number 15, again, that's where you would do that. You can make additional selection about the price type or the selling type. I'm going to leave it alone. I'll see both of them. And again, you can decide here how you want to see that. And then the final prompt, again, is similar to that inventory report. You could do a restriction on your sales metrics. So maybe you're looking for list sell price of a certain dollar amount. You could grab that and bring that across. You might be able to look at total regular sales dollars. Maybe you want it to be more than $100, or maybe you want to see total regular sales units under 100 units. Maybe you're looking to decide, what's going on, why aren't my sales coming across. All that, you can tailor that here. I'm just going to leave it blank though. So once I'm happy with my selections, again, you go ahead and you click that Run Report button. And then you're going to be able to run your report. I'm actually going to minimize out so you guys don't see any of that information that you're not supposed to. But once that does finish processing, and if you guys were running along, you would get something that looks a little bit like this. In this prompt, I did run it by item ID, and we actually pulled the time back by, it looks like by day. But you should see the list sell price, you should see the list sell price, total selling price, your sales dollars and units come across. So if you want to save your report so that it is ready to go whenever you go to your history list, once the report's run, you can go ahead and click on this little floppy disk icon, and it'll bring up a Save As box in My Reports. You can, you can name it, so maybe you have a couple different sales reports that you run for different areas, so you can distinguish this is your infant hardlines area. And you can also edit the description if you want to make yourself a little note. And then to save, you would just click OK, and then return to original report. There's another really nice option. If you want to schedule this report to be delivered to your history list, you could click on this little, it looks like a piece of paper with a clock. You can name this subscription. You might have a couple different subscriptions, so you might want to distinguish that this is your infant hardline sales analysis. And then you can schedule it for specific days. You guys might not see the same number of options here, but you should see some of this daily stuff. So if you wanted every day to run this report, it would run Tuesday through Friday. You could select those options. Tuesday through Sunday, so that way you have something to look at when you come in on Monday. Whatever option you select, you can just make sure to write yourself a little note so you go in before it expires. It's not a fun time coming in on Monday and realizing that all your reports expired. So just make yourself a note and then go in and renew your subscription before that deadline. And then you would just go ahead and click OK. If another little call out, if you wanted to send notification to an email address, you could click that button, and that would just give you a notice when your report has run and is ready for you to look at in your history list. You could go ahead and do that here if you wanted to. Otherwise, just click OK, and now you guys are able to schedule your reports. So that's what we're going to cover for today's webinar. I'm going to go through some contact info, and then I'll open it up for you guys for any questions you might have about what we just talked about. To contact us, please contact vendor support, and that's vendors@searshc.com, and that's really more for setup issues. So if you are trying to run your reports, you think you're doing them correctly, you're following instructions, and you're just not seeing all the data or that you think that you're responsible for or that you should be seeing, contact that vendors@searshc.com. Go ahead and give me an email if you're having report questions. That's my email there, stephanie.nosick@searshhd.com. That's really for report questions as how-to things. So I can't really assist you with access. Again, that's that first email that you'll need to contact them for. And in the body of the email, regardless of who you're contacting, please do include your vendor pay-DUNS number when it applies, the description of your issue, the report name that you're trying to run, the criteria selections that you've made, and really for me, any screen prints. Screen prints really do help because if I can see what you see, it makes it a lot easier for me to figure out what went wrong. There's also a really nice feature before you start sending emails that you might want to check out. It's the help function, and that's back in the report, the Workbench screen before we access Report Builder under Help. It will open up a separate online help window, and there's a lot of great info here. You can find step-by-step instructions, a lot of sample reports that are hot-spotted with more info, metrics, all sorts of definitions, and helpful hints for using Workbench. And here's a little screenshot of what that might look like. So now I am going to give it over to you guys. What are your questions for today? Is there a glossary of what each report generally shows you, and if so, where can we find it? Okay, yes, there should be in that online help section under Kmart Workbench here. So we're going to navigate over to Help. Click on that Help again. And let's say I want to know about, you can click into Reports, and you can look either at the Standard Business Process Reports. That wasn't covered today. That's anything within this gray menu screen. Decision Support would be the Report Builder reports. So yeah, you can go ahead and click into Sales, and they've got all these reports documented. If we go into the one that we just looked at, Sales Analysis Report, you've got a description, you've got how to navigate to it, information about when things get updated, as well as the sample reports. If you clicked in the sample reports, it should give you some interesting filter info, some key points to remember, procedures for how to report to Excel. Is that kind of more what you were looking for? Oh, good. I see. Perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Any other questions? There's also a really neat search function here in the help. So if I wanted to look up, I'm trying to think, cost of goods sold. We'll see if we get anything back. That might be too specific of a question. How about, oh, yeah, so I looked up cost of goods sold, and it gave me everything that's associated with that. So, you can click through and see some definitions of average cost, what current list cost of sales means, and sometimes they'll even give you the calculation for how that number is calculated. Any other questions? All right, well, don't be shy. You could go ahead and send any that you might think of, again, to those email addresses.
All right, so we're going to wrap up. We will stay on the line for a few more minutes if you decide you have a question after people start signing off. Otherwise, have a great day. I'll leave these email addresses up for you as well in case you'd like to write those down. If you're not able to locate them, you can always email Vendor University and we can send your inquiries to the correct address as well. But have a great day, and we will be on the line if you do have any more questions.
Thank you for your help.
Please go vote.
Hey, I have a question. I couldn't find the annotation to send you the question online, but at the beginning of the report, you entered a code to return items that are being planogrammed. Is there a list of these restriction codes available?
Oh, goodness. I'm not sure if there's an external list. I would work with your merchant team and your inventory analyst to see what codes your guys' product is actually sent to. Most of the time, 76500, that's planogrammed, so that's a system that's used throughout any business that has items that are on a planogram, so that one's pretty standard. There's a couple other ones that each individual business might use, so you want to definitely check with your inventory analyst, your inventory team, and maybe your merchant to find out what codes. Those are actually called SAM store attribute models, and it's just a grouping of stores. But you definitely want to check with them, and they should be able to give that to you, and then you should be able to use that for your reporting.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, are we unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. I'm sorry, we were having a lot of technical difficulties over on this end, and we missed the webinar. Is this going to be redone, or do you have something in print that you could send to us, or?
We actually recorded the webinar, and later today I will be getting it up on our YouTube page, and I will send out the link for that, as well as the PowerPoint. There is also some documentation available on the vendor portal. If you go to the Vendor University tab and then click the Workbench sub-tab under that, there is a lot of documentation available for Workbench. But I will be sending out the recorded video link and the PowerPoint later today.
Awesome, thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions? Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and sign off. But again, if you do think of anything, feel free to email us, either Stephanie Oswick at SearsHC.com, vendors@SearsHC.com, or if all else spells, Vendor University at SearsHC.com, and we'll get your question to the appropriate party. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.